Hi, everybody. Welcome to AOS Up and Coming here. It's good to be back. I super appreciate Cire and Steven taking over and doing a great job running the show while I was gone. Um, I myself am caught up on Fire Slayers and, oh my gosh, who's the other one? Oh, Flesh Eater Courts back on Friday. Cire, of course, is with me again here today. Hey, Cire, how's it going?
Hey, what's up?
Today we're chatting Deepkin. This is an
We are.
army. Yeah, this is, excuse me. This is an army I know a little bit about. I played this army late on stream back on a different channel, and then last summer I ended up, after borrowing that channel while I was on Titans, I ended up holding on to that army borrowed by a friend for a while he was out of the country. So I got a chance to kind of play it over the course of the last summer. And it is sort of a weird faction, but I kind of dig it. So I'm actually currently starting an army. I've been acquiring models and assembling. So we will see this army on our channel in Fourth Ed, and
Yes.
hopefully by the late summer, early fall. I'm actually gonna, unlike a lot of armies I paint, I'm actually gonna take my time with this one. Um, Saray, what do you know about Deepkin before today, going into today?
Um,
You've not actually played them yet.
I've never played against them. I don't think I've ever really seen them in person, even if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
I'm pretty new to AOS overall. But what do I know? I know that these are elves that, they kind of sea elfish, right? But they're also kind of messed up, right? Their lore is that like they were almost like an experiment by is it Teclis or Tyrion? By
Techless,
one of the
Techless.
Teclis.
Yeah,
Yeah, and things didn't go so well. So now they have to raid and kidnap people for their own reasons.
yeah. Basically, like you see this picture here, this guy is an Akelian. He is pretty much very close to being a real normal elf boy. Um,
Hmm.
but many of the faction, the Namarti, which are the little guys we'll see running around, they don't even really have mouths or faces or eyes. Like they're not even completely formed physically, much less spiritually or as far as the soul goes. So they're born, they don't live very long, and they have to kind of go get their own souls, and that's kind of their deal. So while they are an order army, they're
Mhm.
sort of up there with like Daughters and Sylvaneth for like not being exactly the most team players. Fire Slayers as well. They have their own. All the dwarves and elves, except for Lumineth, kind of have their own horrible agendas. It turns out. I guess that's the case with Stormcast and cities too. Um,
Yeah, definitely vibes of Dark Eldar slash Drukari, although not Umberneth, which is something we're hoping to see eventually, but definitely the same vibes of like, we gotta take other people so we can like satiate
I know.
our own,
I
we
gotta
fix our own
I gotta
problems.
say I gotta say like this is not meant to downplay the wishes of anyone very excited about Umberneth, but every time people get really excited about Umberneth, and Steven's not here today, he'd be furious at me if he heard me talking about this. Every time people start talking about Umberneth, I'm kind of like, I don't know, man. Just play Deepkin or Daughters. There's sort of like two
It's not the
very.
same. It's
I
not
mean,
the same.
lore wise, it's not the same, but like the angle is the same, and because of that, I don't see it happening anytime soon. I truthfully see Chaos Dwarves happening way before, because there's missing dwarves in the game for sure, right? We need at least one more Dwarden faction. I
Two?
don't do yeah. I mean, I think so. I mean, I'm just like honestly, I see either Chaos Dwarden uh or dispossessed before Umberneth. I'm just like, I don't know, guys. You got deep.
Here's my deep cut. We're gonna get Chaos Dwarves, Umberneth combo faction.
That would be awful. Nobody would be happy if that happened.
No, everyone would be sad, just like they both intend.
It's not that I don't want them to get it lore wise. It's just like from a perspective of being over at the studio and thinking about armies and thinking about models. I'm kind of like, it's hard for me to imagine them being like, you know what? I think we can carve out a play style niche, and a model niche for Umbrenath. Like I'm just like,
Mhm.
I think they're gonna keep saying like, where do we fit them in between Deepkin and Daughters, on the other side of Daughters, on the other side of Deepkin? Like where do they go? Um, anyway, here we are, super beautiful army. I remember when this army came out, people were blown away. People were absolutely blown away by this model line. Um,
Mhm.
GW released new paints for them. Even they painted this army. I remember like nothing we'd seen before, blues and oranges and these peach colors everywhere. Absolutely beautiful. I remember this was one of my first times seeing this army where I was like, I should maybe check this game out. This is like starting to look pretty cool.
Oh
Um,
wow. So this wasn't even a this was they came out before you were even into AOS.
yeah, yes. I only started no new army. If I am remembering correctly, other cities is the only army that is really, and cities did exist, but that's really the only. That's the biggest model line since I've only started in second, right, or third.
Oh, I see.
Third.
Gotcha.
I started playing in third. I didn't play first or second edition.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, but like these guys, right? I remember this studio army coming out, and it was just incredible. Okay, jumping into Deepkin and kind of chatting about them a bit. If you're unfamiliar with Deepkin, Steven and Cire were talking about this a little bit yesterday. Steven was kind of saying, "I'm curious what they're going to do with them, their Tides ability." Well, it's going to turn out that they've done very little, and I have to say I'm personally happy about that.
Yeah.
Um, Deepkin, most armies are combo up armies in which you're doing synergies based on location. Here's this hero, here's this character. When they're near each other, this thing happens. And that happens in Deepkin too, but Deepkin are a timing army, which is unique, fairly unique
Mhm.
um, to this. And I think, if anything, the other timing army we just saw was what you guys premiered yesterday, which was the dwarves, right?
Yes.
Um, their ruins are kind of like tides. They was reminding me of tides. It's just that you pick them.
Yes.
And I think you and Steven both had a good point, which is like it's going to be a little bit hard to figure out the best one to do turn one. But after that, they're all very useful, but they're not insanely powerful. The Deepkin ones are kind of different. You don't get to
Yes.
pick when they happen, but I think they're more powerful.
Yes. They're much more. There's much more of a flow, I guess, if you will, to the ha ha ha
Mm-hmm.
of
An ebb and flow, would you say, even? Did Saray just die? I think Saray just disappeared. I wonder if he just disappeared for me or for everybody. Oh,
the
there he is.
Idoneth.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes. Yeah. Look at that. Oh, sorry. I don't know what happened.
yeah,
They took me away.
yeah. It's okay. It seems like you're back now.
Okay.
You were saying though, please repeat. You were saying we were joking about the flow and
Yeah. There's more of a there's a game plan set out for you almost
yeah,
with this army.
yeah.
So,
And
should we talk about the battle
let's
traits?
talk about the battle traits. So the tide has remained large. The tides have remained largely unchanged. Um, round one, you're essentially in cover. Now they've changed the wording on this to literally describe cover. And if you're like, why didn't they just say cover? We were kind of curious about that as well. And we looked into it, and cover doesn't affect units with the fly keyword. And most of
Mhm.
Deepkin have the fly keyword. So we are assuming it was a nice thing that they did for Deepkin to make sure that they could benefit from their own ability. Um, so yeah, turn one, they're -1 to hit unless they charge. Makes sense. Um, round two, sorry, that's round one. Round two, they can run and charge or shoot and charge, or either one.
Mhm.
Run and shoot or run and charge, or both. The scary one is round three. This is what everybody's looking out for when they're playing against Idoneth Deepkin, which is that round three is the whole army has strike first.
Scary, terrifying, actually.
Yeah. Now, it is terrifying for a glass cannon army because that is what this army is. They hit insanely
Mhm.
hard, or can hit insanely hard, but they disappear quickly. So strike first is very powerful for them. This is this is actually Harlequins or literally Drukhari. If you are digging that playstyle in
Yes.
10th ed Warhammer 40,000, this is that. This is the army for
Right.
you. If that's your playstyle. Yeah, High Tide, your whole army fights first, so it'll feel like 40k. And they, in their current book, they have one other really intense way of getting this, which is the Achillean King, who's we saw his picture up here, anyway. The Achillean King can get this and pass it out, maybe to nearby units. Strike First is this thing that you kind of don't want to be like, maybe they'll have it on a glass cannon unit, but you get it on 1d3 units. So one of them is him, and one of them is, if you're lucky, somebody else. Anyway,
Right.
it's a gamble. It makes the army kind of fun to play and play against, but very stressful as well. So that's the Tides. They've remained largely unchanged. The other ability that, Cire, you were kind of checking the old rules. Like I said, I know this book fairly well. As far as I know, this is new, this deployment ability of...
Yeah, I didn't see
yeah.
anything
Okay.
in the old rules. So if I'm mistaken, someone let us know. I didn't see anything about this.
I don't remember it.
Putting something in reserve and
Yeah.
then deploying it from reserve. I think it's also worth noting that unlike other reserve abilities we've seen in the previews, this lets you put an entire regiment
Yeah.
in, not just a unit.
So this will be at minimum. We don't know exactly the regiments, but at minimum, you're gonna pull up one hero and up to, well, however many units you've put in.
I think it's 3 units.
Up to 3, right? Well, I think we saw some mention. Correct me if I'm doing that thing where I make something up. I think we saw some mention or heard some mention that at some point, some of the regiments even include space for another character or hero.
Yeah, I think some of them can have like again, I might be misremembering this too, so again, if I'm wrong, correct us. I think you can have like a like War Master, not a War Master character, but like a big character, like general character, and then another character, and then the rest of the units.
So you'll this is new, and honestly, this is good for this army because we don't know what kind of charge bonuses they have coming out of reserve. But I think that, again, for a glass cannon army, even though 9-inch charges are risky, I think that this is good. And they have a lot of shooting units too, like Reavers, Namarti Reavers. This is going to be amazing for Reavers to just drop them down like this.
Yeah. Yes, I see some people pointing out that they lost a couple of rules. They lost let's see. They lost
shooting one.
Forgotten Nightmare.
Forgotten
Nightmares,
the shooting one. We'll talk about that.
Yes. And then we'll talk about Ishtar and Rituals. That used to be a battle trait that seems to have just moved to a specific character. So you haven't completely lost access to the rules, but it is now requires a character.
Yeah. They did have some ways to put stuff in reserve, because I definitely remember having Reavers pop up on me and shoot me last Old Town Throwdown. But I maybe somebody can tell me how they were doing that or what that was from. Anyway, it's army wide now. You just get it even depending on your formation. That's it. That's really their only rules, and it's not a lot. And to be honest with you, the Tide one is just very powerful. We also don't know quite yet, and we'll figure it out if they have the ability to manipulate the tides.
Not yet, which would be very good, right?
Yeah.
Right now, if you've ever played against Idoneth, or if you've even read the rules, you know how the army is going to, you can hold off until the right moment, or you can, knowing someone's game plan, knowing when their buffs go off is like extremely powerful. So I think you need to have a way to mess with it so that your game plan isn't so predictable.
The problem is currently they can move High Tide to round 2, and that's it.
Right.
Currently, the problem for you as the person playing the Deepkin player is that round 3 is a horrible round to hold off until, because it's right in the middle of the game, and it's also a really bad round to try to get in and get out before.
Yeah.
when I've played Deepkin, especially with a fast army like my Beastclaw Raiders, and the player has switched the High Tide to round 2, that's preferable to me, actually, because then I'll try to avoid them for 2 turns as much as I can, give up as little as I can, and then we start playing. But if they do it in round 3, I have this really uncomfortable decision that I need to try to make, which is, do I try to run in and get the game over real quick, or do I try to stall it for 3 turns? And like, what can I really do? And the key thing to remember, folks, if you're new to playing Deepkin, either against or thinking about playing the army, is that this is the whole battle round. So battle round 3, let's say they go first, they charge you and they wreck you in a bunch of places. Now it's your turn 3, and you're thinking, okay, time for some retaliation. Remember, they're still fighting first. They're still fighting first in your turn. And so then you have this other horrible decision to make, which is like, well, what do I do now? And then if you say wait till turn 4, like, and hope I double turn them, that's a terrible place to be in, right? So I like this mechanic. Actually find it sort of enjoyable to play against. No other army really works this way. So I'm into it personally.
All right, let's talk
formations.
Killian Beastmaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, formations. Ferocious Predators, add 1 to hit rolls for combat attacks made with companion weapons by friendly killing units. Seems fine, right? We know this army has a ton of companions, or at least it should, right? With all these mounts.
Yeah.
We know that mounts, for the most part, are going to hitting on 4, so being able to hit on 3s is just a solid, buff overall.
It seems like from the stats we've seen, they are mostly attacking. They are mostly hitting on 4s in combat with their weapons. So this puts them back to kind of where they're at currently. Again, to a lot of people, that's going to seem like a little bit of a nerf, but keep in mind that everything's getting worse around you. Yeah.
We've also seen. I haven't actually checked the rules farther down the page yet, but something I've been noticing is that when they to compensate for so many of the companions going down to a 4 to hit, they tend to give them a plus to the wound roll. So
it looks like a lot of going up to 2. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so if they've kept that true to in this army, which we'll see in a moment, I guess, that's ends up being quite good.
Now, the other 2, they do this thing that I like when the articles do this. Who's ever writing these articles, I appreciate. When they kind of leak the direction of the other 3. I think, for me, that's kind of all I need right now. If you're saying, oh, I want to get into Deepkin and 4th Ed, and you see at least leaks of what the other 3 do, then you can kind of be like, oh okay, I can build in the right direction. Like, I like Namarti. I see that something is going to affect Namarti here. And there it is. They say one of them is centered around Namarti and heroes. One of them is hit and run tactics, and one of them is going to be magic. The Isharan, their wizards. So you've got a wizard faction, you've got a monster faction, a mount faction, really, which is the one we see here at Kelly and things. You've got the Namarti faction, and this the hit and run of a soul raid sounds interesting to me. I'm curious what that one's going to be.
Yeah, they already kind of seem like a hit and run army, which we'll talk about in a second. I'm curious how much more they're going to lean into that.
Yeah, you're just
we should talk about
constantly in Ebb Tide.
Yeah, I mean, we're even about to talk about this spell, Lord Steed of the Tides. This is like a hit and run style.
I know. I'm getting
spell anyway.
I'm getting very excited that I picked the right final army for myself to start in 4th Ed. It's a teleport.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
Teleport. So I mean, just being able to pick someone out of combat. There's nothing saying you can't just pull someone out of combat unless there's some core rule somewhere I haven't seen.
I mean, currently,
being able to pluck someone out. just also unlimited.
Yeah.
So you can just keep doing it.
I mean, this kind of thing exists currently, and it is strong for the exact reason you're saying, Cire, which is that you can pull somebody out of combat, and they don't count as retreating. Now, you're outside of 9 wherever you're going, but you might be able to pull off a charge on a different opponent or something. Yeah, at least gives you a chance. So, as far as I know,
I mean, just picture you're in battle round 2. I mean, somehow you got charged in battle round 1. I don't know. You're in battle round
it
2.
happens. It happens. Yeah.
You just pluck someone out and then charge them again.
Yeah, one thing that's kind of worth saying about Deepkin currently is we've got some Deepkin players in chat, and actually this is a good time. We did get a couple super chats here. Chris, thank you for your support. Good to see you yesterday, by the way, in Hobby Hang for a little bit. He says, Cire, those are some weird looking fire slayers. Chris, you need to provide some context maybe for that one. Or at least for me, maybe Cire, you know what he's talking about.
You watch yesterday's game.
Okay. Oh, yesterday's game. Okay.
Yeah.
Nick says, note to TOs, don't let Zach leave event with sharp things. Yeah. Nick, I got to see Nick Garcia here, Nick and Knight in our Discord. Nick won second best painted at Small Town Throwdown, by the way.
Congrats.
Yeah, his army's
your army, Place of Darkness.
This was actually his Deepkin.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, very beautiful army.
I want to see those.
Super beautiful army. And what he's referencing here is that the prize I won for being best in Grand Alliance Death was these sickles, and I stabbed myself with them like immediately when I got back to my hotel room, because they kind of are like butterfly knives, you know. But they're 3D printed sickles, but they're sharp, and so I was like messing with them. I was like, "Is it?" And it came back and stabbed me. Yeah,
right in the artery.
Right in the artery. But thank you both, and I bring this up because Nick I know is a Deepkin player, and we've got some other Deepkin players in here. Correct me if I'm wrong. Stop me if I'm going down a path that you would disagree with. But I feel like Deepkin. You think when you look at the faction as an outsider, you say there must be a way for that army to be good at Magic. I feel like they're really not good at Magic, and if they are good at Magic, I think it's fair to say that if there is a way to make them decent at Magic, it's fair to say that's not how people have been running them for the past few years. Mostly people have been doing either Namarti or Sharks or Eels.
Sharks, yeah.
Yeah. There's like the Reaver Shark build, there's the Upsal Thralls, and there's Upsal Eels, and that's kind of it. I haven't really seen, and when I was looking at this army last summer and playing it, I was like, this army's really not good at Magic, actually. I don't know if that's going to change. It says that there's
could be changing, right?
Yeah. They mentioned a sub-faction that seems like it does it.
Look, elves should be good at Magic. That's just, in my head, that's how it works.
Yeah, but keep in mind, these are reject elves that got kicked out of...
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
These are the loser elves.
Yeah.
Should we talk about Idolon? I know we're talking about spells. He's a spellcaster who...
Speaking of.
I believe in the old edition used to have a way to re-roll. I don't think he does anymore, though.
Yeah, he gets +1, which we don't see a lot of. We haven't seen a lot of on War Scrolls. So he does have +1 to cast. That's interesting. Did you say his stat line? You have a stat line up. This is I was telling you this, Ray, before we went live. When I borrowed this army, the guy I borrowed it from had one of these. I think I played it in one game against Brett. Otherwise, it wasn't really my playstyle. And people love this model. I'm okay with it. I'm not as in love with this model as everybody else seems to be. Did you say?
Yeah, let's talk about the stat line.
His move dropped for sure, huh?
No, it's the same.
It's the same. Okay.
I was over here trying to figure out why this guy still has a 3-up save when all the other monsters we've seen have gone to a 4-up save. But it's just a guy, so I guess he gets to keep a 3-up save, which is kind of weird to me. That this guy who has a coat made of water has a 3-up save, but these giant monsters...
I'm sorry, Saray. Do you have a way of damaging water?
I would just poke my sword through the water. Anyway, he's got a 3-up save. He is a monster, though, which I thought was interesting. His
5-up ward,
blast of abyssal energy, his ranged attack is pretty similar to what it used to be. It's gone to D3 damage. It used to be 2 damage flat. So take or leave whether that's better or worse. It also used to be D3 attack. It's now 3 flat, so that's definitely a buff. His 2 weapons have been combined into one. His Side Trident and Deep Sea Scepter are now 1 weapon. I guess it kind of evens out. The scepter used to wound on 4s, but not wounds on these weapons wound on 3s. But the side trident used to be rend 2, is now rend 1. They've gone to D3 damage, where the scepter used to be 1 and the trident used to be 2. So I guess overall this is probably better. The sharp fangs for his mount seems to have gone down pretty hard, unless I'm mistaken. He used to be 2d6. I guess it actually ultimately evens out. It used to be 2d6 attacks. Now it's just flat 6.
Yeah.
Right, because 2d6 average is 7.
So yeah, I guess you're fine to take the 6.
Yeah.
It's not like
More
you care about this
consistency.
weapon much anyway, right?
No, you don't. You could make it hit on 3s though, if you
Yeah,
wanted.
yeah. He's not a damage dealer, and I also think it's fair to say that this is the aspect of the sea. He's the wizard one. The aspect of the storm is the fighty one. And as far as I remember, certainly compared to the Akkelian King, neither one of these are damage dealers really. And you're not getting
Right.
this guy, especially this one. Like I said, he's really the wizard of the two of them. The tsunami.
Sorry, some people are pointing out that his movement. So there's Idolon aspect of the sea, and there's Idolon aspect of the storm.
The storm might
Aspect
have
of the
been
storm
12-inch.
Has 12-inch move.
Okay.
Aspect of the sea is the 10-inch.
I like I said, I used. I think only this one. I don't think I've ever played with the storm one or played against the storm one, and my recollection of them is that neither of them are that impressive as far as damage goes. And yeah, I guess they have some minor stat changes between the two of them, which is always convenient for people trying to learn the army. Tsunami of Terror is kind of good, though.
Yeah, tell us about it.
The 12-inch range is tough, but honestly, I don't know if you guys have noticed, we've been kind of seeing that with Magic. We haven't really seen impressive Magic ranges. And I think I kind of like that. I think it'll actually speed the game up. People will cast less. People will cast spells that don't matter less. So that's a good thing. Give 3 units -1 to their save. Now it's on an 8. He does have +1 to cast. As far as we know, there's no kind of minus to or there's no kind of primal dice or anything like that. So you got to roll 7 to get this thing off, and then not have it be denied. But if you do, in a world where it looks like Rens are going down, giving 3 enemy units in High Tide, -1 to their save, I think is really scary to your opponent.
Yes.
Yes.
And this was an ability he had before.
Yeah.
They just reduced the range a little bit, but that's like you said, with the way that Rend is changing, I feel like this is actually probably more significant in the coming edition.
He has a roar, what we would currently call a roar, minusing the on a 3-up, no command points for the turn. That's his rampage. And he does this new ability. This is absolutely got to be new, where he, I'm guessing currently, if he has an ability like this, it affects leadership. Currently, now it affects control. No negative modifiers to control. And when I look at this and I compare it to the Night Haunt, who have these abilities that reduce your control, we are, I think, starting to see that control is representing the closest thing we have to a psychology now in the game, right? So tranquility of the abyss. He makes all of the reject elves near him feel calm. They can't be scared. They can't be scared off objectives by Night Haunt. I like it.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be just giving them a bravery of 10.
Okay.
So functionally, or similar idea behind this ability.
Yeah. Cool. The Idolon is it is a cool model. I acknowledge it's a cool model, and I'm curious to see. Yeah, Chris points out that the guy Nick points out that the guy who won, Aaron Newbaum, got won with Deepkin at Small Town Throwdown, and he did have the aspect of the storm. That's the only time I've played the aspect of the storm is against Aaron, and the aspect of the storm was not what I was afraid of in that list, but he We'll see. We'll see. Here's the Tidecaster. Cire, you,
Yes.
I don't recall. I know the guy who brings back thralls. I forget his name. I don't recall if I've ever played with a Tidecaster. I thought the Tidecaster was the person that changed the order of the tides. Maybe that's not correct. Certainly, though, this ability is new because this is the Isharan ritual ability that
Hmm.
that Isharan ritual role that they used to just have as an army
Hmm.
um, is now sitting here in this war scroll. Um,
Yes.
and I think better options.
Yeah. If you read those off, I'll go look at the old Asharan ritual rules.
Yeah, so
Give me
this
one
is
moment.
the Tidecaster's old prayers, third ed prayers, 3+. One is your Deepkin units can't be targeted by shooting attacks outside 12, so you get that back. One is +1 to run in charge for Deepkin, and the other one is no damage after they retreat. No, sorry, it's even better. It's the other way. When an enemy unit retreats, they take D3 after the retreat has been resolved. Now, this one's interesting because my understanding of this, they mentioned down here that
Mhm.
even if you have an ability, which we've seen like Skaven and Nighthaunt can have the ability to leave combat and not take D3 mortals, this will
Mhm.
still make you take D3 mortals. And I think I have it correct, folks at home. Are you reading it where if you don't have that ability, you're taking D3, 2D3 mortals now? Do we think we have that right? You resolve your retreat. At the end of your retreat, you take D3 mortals, and then you take D3 more mortals from Spiteful Riptide. Because I
No,
got
it's
to.
saying you inflict mortal damage. You don't take mortal damage.
No, right. Sorry. I'm talking about the unit that leaves. So
Mhm.
I retreat from a Deepkin unit. I take
Mhm.
D3 for retreating,
Oh, I see. Yes, yes,
and
yes.
then I take D3 more from Spiteful Riptide. So honestly, this I don't see this character sounds insane. This character is amazing, and I think you're probably taking. We don't see what else is out there yet, but I think you're probably taking two of these. This
Yeah.
character is intense.
Potentially not the most durable unit, but
Not
he's
the
quite
most
powerful.
durable. You're gonna hide him. You're gonna hide him and keep him protected for sure. But listen, this is board wide effects on a 3+,
Yeah.
and there's
Uh,
right.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
there's two good reasons to take two of them. One is you really want one of these, then you need to roll twice.
Mhm.
Um, and the second one, uh, once per. Oh, it's only once per turn though, so you can't actually do that. Do we? Yeah, for the army, so you can't do it two of them. So you're only gonna take one of them. Okay, this is good. This is why they have this
Oh, you're
rule.
right.
Right. This is why they have this rule. Okay, so you're gonna take one. But man, these three are super good. Like,
Yeah. You'd mentioned the old versions of the Isharan rituals, and there's a lot of similar abilities, but they were tied to what round you're in because
the
it was based
tide.
on
They were
the tide.
tied to the tide. Yeah.
Tied to the tides. Yeah. Oh man, that's two puns in one stream. We gotta end it.
They kind of bumped up how the tides worked a little bit. Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
I mean, these were very similar to these. Is what
I
it
gotta
was.
say that. Yeah. Sorry.
They go off without needing to roll, and they go off with the D3 mortal wounds on retreat. You'd have to roll a 4 up for it now, and it used to have to be an ebb tide. Now it's just do it. Do it once per turn, without any hangers, hang ups to it.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I gotta say I like this model. I'm personally playing against them. I'm glad that two of them aren't going to do anything for you. um. And I like it because it's I character spam is kind of weird. It's nice to see look over the other side of the table and see a variety of characters, not just like the same character two or three times.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, like you said, not durable, but that's okay. It's an elf.
It's an elf wizard too, at
It's an
that.
elf wizard. Yeah. Okay, sharks.
Sharks.
Yeah.
Can you read us the Achelian
Yeah.
Alopex? I don't even know what this thing looks like. I'm guessing it looks like a shark because you said it looked like a shark.
You've seen it. It's this guy. It's these guys.
Oh, it's that guy at the bottom.
Wait, where is he? Right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, the sharks. One of the things that makes me think Deepkin are super cool. I love the sharks, not just for what they look like, but I love like the size of the model. I love this like 1 or 2 little shark unit running around. They can shoot cool. They're good in combat. They're fast. Although I think they've lost movement here. It looks like I feel like they were 14 or 16 or something crazy like that.
They were 14.
14. Okay. Okay. They have 2 weapon options. And they're currently one of them I think is the same. I feel like the harpoon is about the same more or less. It's lost 6 inches in range though, I do believe. Otherwise it's maybe sort of similar, maybe plus to I think it went up on its wound roll. And it's got anti monster +1 rend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The net launcher has changed a bit. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
The harpoon seems a lot better. Well, maybe not a lot better. So it used to have 4 attacks. 3/3 1d3. 2 attacks is obviously way less, but like 2 attacks, 3/2, 2 against a monster, 3 damage flat is pretty good.
It is pretty good. 2 attacks. Good. 2. Of course. Here's the deal. 2 attacks was something that hit on 3. Nah. Yeah. And this thing went from, and I like this actually. Even though I think what I'm about to say is better for the game. This thing went from something that could move 14 inches and shoot 24 to something that can move 12 and shoot 18. That's still a 30-inch threat range. This thing's threat range used to be so ridiculous that like you never could catch it. And the only way you really got to get into this thing often, in many circumstances, was if the Deepkin player decided to put it into combat with you. Otherwise, these things could just fly around the board and shoot you all game. The net launcher, I think, lost a powerful ability. It used to have an ability that shut down pylons, which is, Cire, as you know from playing Magickin,
very powerful,
ridiculously powerful. So it doesn't have that anymore. Now it's being built as an anti-cavalry weapon, exact same stats as the harpoon, but better rend against cavalry. The monster, his bite attacks have anti-monster. This kind of makes you think that you want the anti-monster gun so that you can be really an anti-monster shark. But I think you're going to probably see people take units of 2 of these or 1 and maybe take 2 units of 2 or 2 units of 1. And my instinct right out of the gate is to arm 1 unit of 2 with the harpoon and 1 with the 1 unit of 2 with the net launcher. Good, decent profile in melee. Like, keep in mind if you take the monster faction, those bites are hitting on 3s.
Yes, 3/2 2/1, potentially 4 attacks if they're already damaged because of the bloodthirsty predators rule.
Yeah, and potentially
not nothing.
And potentially rend 3 against monsters at 2 damage, which is nice and toned down. I'm glad it's not an insane amount of damage. Okay, they have sort of maintained like a ensnared ability. Like I said, it used to be shut down pylons with the net launcher. Now, if they do any damage to monster or cavalry, regardless of the weapon, I kind of like that. On a because it's or harpoon or net on a 3+, -1 when that unit charges. That unit is charging on a D6 or maybe 3d6 down to 2d6.
Ugh. I'm seeing this ability quite a bit. This subtract 1 dice from your charge rolls.
Yes, it is coming up quite a bit, and it sucks.
It hurts.
It hurts. Yeah.
Think about how strong this is. Okay, so like if anyone's played 40K, freaking Custodes had this ability to like give you a minus on your charge. This is just completely taking one of those dice away. This is insanely powerful.
It's insanely powerful because we were talking last week about potential. The amount of potential so it shuts down not only potential, it shuts down a lot of degree of certainty, because
Yeah.
you know, we all at this point in our wargaming careers know how 2d6 works, and we know we can kind of like, we're thinking 5 to 9 is where we're gonna get, right?
Yeah.
Anything outside of 5 to 9 is kind of like, oh wow, okay, right?
Yeah.
This removes that and says now it's just one stupid die. Think about how freaking irritating redeploy is, everybody. Like,
Yeah.
this,
Think
your
about how
charge.
many times you do a prayer and it's like, I only needed you to get a 3.
Yeah.
I only need you to get a 2. What's happening?
Yeah. So it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And unlike 40k, Cire, unlike 40k, a 1 or a 2 fails your charge roll, guaranteed.
Yeah.
So 1 die, and even if you're staring somebody right in the face, you still have a 1/3 chance of failing it.
This is terrifying.
So
I love it. This is very good.
So very good. I think sharks are gonna be good. They look like they're gonna have to be priced a little bit high, because the damage potential on a shark is decent when you consider it shooting and fighting. And then you consider this ability on the side, and it's quite.
I mean, you talked about that 30-inch range. So someone coming from across the board and saying, "Hey, you over there, you can't charge."
Yeah, no.
That's insane.
The shark shuts down charging on a part of the battlefield it's not even involved in.
I know, it's
like,
insane.
Yeah, it looks somewhere else on the board and is like, you don't charge over there. Meanwhile, I'm gonna go fight over here.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're not brutal in combat.
No, but
good enough. And even the guys riding have 1 rend.
Mm-hmm.
So okay. Next is the Ishlangard. Ishlangard are the eels who historically, there's 2 types of eels: Morsar Guard and Ishlangard. Ishlangard are the eels that people run up and charge you with to block you in, and then have an unrendable 3-up. That's how they currently work. That has changed quite a bit here. They have what's sort of now. So I don't think they're. Sorry, let me know. I don't. Other than anti-infantry, I don't think their like combat stat line has changed too much. And hitting on 4s now.
Yeah, has not changed that much. They are wounding on 4s, as you said, because they are elves.
Yeah. They used to hit and wound on 3s.
Yes.
With all their weapons, huh?
Yes. So you've also the mount has also gone to the standard hitting on 4s because it's a mount. If
he's the in the Akelian Beastmaster faction, he'll hit on wound on 3s, but otherwise he's hitting on 4s.
Yeah.
Okay, Biovolcanic Barrier. This is what I believe, if I'm correct, one of these 2 abilities used to be that they're unrendable and unrendable on a 3-up when they charge.
Yes.
Now, on a 3-up roll, 1 enemy unit is -1 attacks characteristic for the rest of the turn. That doesn't sound as good, and it only happens on a 3-up, as we were just talking about. Very failable. But, of course, remember, -1 attacks is the best defense in the game, because it's an attack that just doesn't happen. It's not -1 to hit, not -1 to wound. It's an attack that doesn't happen. So, pretty
talking about potential, right?
Everything's gone.
Yeah, if a unit has 2 attacks, you're having the potential damage right off the bat. So before you even get to saves or anything. So
and a 5-up, very good.
Yeah, quite good.
Imagine a unit of these charging like modern, current, if you will, Chaos Knights. It'd be a pain in the butt. Okay.
My heart.
Anytime Chaos Knights get charged, it's annoying. And the thing is, they won't. And this is kind of how they function currently. They don't really do a ton.
They don't do anything.
Yeah.
No, they.
Yeah. Okay. 5-up ward on the turn they charge. The thing is, I think that my
gonna go in there, smack them up, and
yeah. I think this unit all around just got worse. There's no putting lipstick on a
Really? Okay.
pig here. Yeah. I mean, currently they charge in and they have an unrendable. They have a 3-up invuln currently.
Yeah.
No ward, but wow, a 3-up invuln on the turn they charge. I mean, people take 3 of them and just throw them in. They launch them across the board, and their movement has gone down 2. Were they 14?
Their movement's still 14.
Okay, I couldn't remember if they were 16 or not. So, you launch these guys across the board. You charge into your opponent's line, and you tie them up, and then you lose these guys. These guys never survive a battle, but they run in and they tie up an opponent. You know they never die on the slapback because they have a 3-up unrendable save the turn they charge. Mm-hmm. Then they die in their opponent's turn, and then your opponent is down a movement phase on you. And remember, you're an army that wants to control all of this because of the tides and everything. So they're currently great, and now they're not as great. And I think that's okay. I think that they're still really good. And I think in addition where we're going to see a lot of other things changing and units getting toned back down, I think they still can probably have that role. I think they can still probably survive. But especially if you get this 3 off, taking something like Graveguard with 2 attacks down to 1 on a 3-up is going to matter. If you get the 3-up, you probably live. If you don't, you probably die.
I mean, in concert or in combo with the ward of 5-up, I feel like they're still pretty damn durable.
They're pretty durable, yeah. And the save is 4-up. It's not a bad save.
No, I mean that's what it was before. So
yeah, and I think you're probably all out defensing them even when you attack. So you're going up to a 3, and maybe you got a Mystic Shield off on them or something. But you do. We're told save stacking is not going to be as much of a thing. You absolutely do want to save stack on these guys as much as you can. Also, worth pointing out. Well, no, the ward only happens when they charge. So I was going to say they still only get. They can be durable off the charge now, and they can, but the ward happens only when they charge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, that's them, right? Should we look at the? Should we look at the Spearhead data sheet?
Yes, yeah, the Spearhead. Otherwise, they talk a little bit about them. I don't think this level of information is too much. It's like, hey, Eels are hard to hit. Ugh, the army's fast. Yeah, okay. The
tide ability, good.
Yeah, the Spearhead tide appears to be largely similar.
Yeah.
Checks out. We see the Thralls. They have elf stats. Now, Thralls, the Thrall ability currently is centered around this way in which it's tied to wounds. So if they attack something with 1 wound, they get more attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And if they attack something with 3 or more wounds, they get extra damage. And
what it looks like they kept here with this passive.
Yeah, but I think they made it better. And this actually happened to Nick here in chat this weekend. He played against Chaos Warriors. Well, Chaos Warriors have 2 wounds, just like Stormcast. So currently, Thralls are actually totally screwed against anything with 2 wounds. Neither of their abilities go off because it's either one wound or 3 or more wounds. Now they're
finally Chaos coming out on top.
Yeah, now they're Rend 2 against infantry, really nice, and against monsters, they get +1 to the damage characteristic. And my guess is that this scroll right here, other than the recycling symbol, is going to be virtually identical to.
Think so?
I think so. I do think so.
Okay.
Yeah. It looks like it's in the spirit of fixing how they're currently good ability, but maybe too good sometimes, and then suddenly not good at all. We see this. I think this is the Matt Rose thing. I think he wants to moderate out the weirdness. I guess I'm shit out of luck. You've got 2 wounds, right?
Yeah.
So Yeah, that would be my guess.
Yeah,
I think it will stay the same.
I think it would make sense.
We did a
All right,
poll. We did a poll,
we did a
Saray.
poll.
We did a poll
Mm-hmm.
to see what people think about this. And I gave 3 options: overboard, off the deep end, or you sunk my battleship. And you sunk my battleship as 1.
I don't know. Is that good or bad?
I I don't know. I just thought I'd put 3 kind of sea puns in.
Are you? You're walking the plane.
Yeah, yeah. Um, let us know actually in chat on our way out here in the next few minutes how
Yeah.
you feel in reality
Yeah.
about this.
Also, don't forget to like the stream.
Don't forget to do give the stream a like, please. And if you're not subbed at this point, I imagine most of you are, and I would appreciate it. I would appreciate that. We would appreciate that. But if you're not,
I
please,
wouldn't. I don't care.
please do. Saray's a no.
I don't.
Saray's a no
I
on
don't
yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't know what is everybody's gut reaction, so to speak. We've used that with ogres because it was thematic. Saray, you're not super familiar with the army currently. You've just read this article. You're getting into it for the first time. What's your take?
I like that they tell me how to play the army.
Yeah,
I'm like, hey, here's the tides. Just do this.
do the things.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Yeah, I actually really like the tides ability. I'm glad they didn't change it. At least that's what it seems like. People seem to have liked the rules. I think they look good. They look thematic. I think there's a lot of potential for this to be not I want to say annoying army, but that's not exactly what I mean. Like a tricksy army, right? Like just being able to pull units out of combat with these spells. It seems like they're gonna have a hit and run style sub faction. So
Yes.
I don't know. I think it's an interesting army. And overall, I'm just excited for an army that plays like this. It's very different from what I'm used to. And I don't think even now we don't have any army that plays like this in the studio, right? Like we don't have something that's so
Sylvaneth. I would say Brad has Sylvaneth, and I think they're the closest to it. They literally have kind of like a hit and run rule or striking fade, but and they are similar. I sort of think of Sylvaneth, Deepkin, and Daughters as like your
of a kind.
Yeah, your Sylvaneth are the most weird and flighty and jumping around all over the board all game long, but don't do a ton of damage. And then Daughters can do a little bit of jumping around, but do a ton of damage. These guys are kind of in the middle. That's currently how I kind of think about it. Yeah, it looks exciting.
Lions are these people?
Order.
Why? They should be destruction.
Well, they're elves.
I guess they're not. We can have destruction elves. I guess they are kind of building a society.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, they do help against the big thing that makes a faction order. What you kind of learn the more you learn about the lore is if they hate chaos. They could do like one of those flow charts, and it's like, do you hate chaos? Yes, and then you go down, and then you're either order or death, and then it's like, are you alive? And if it's yes, then you're order. If it's no, then you're death.
I don't know, man. I feel like we should stop pigeonholing elves into order. You know?
No, you have to check the flowchart. We'll make a flowchart.
Please refer to the chart.
First, it's are you chaos, and if you say yes, then it goes over and says, "Congratulations, your Grand Alliance chaos." Then, if you say no, it goes, "Do you hate chaos?" And if you say no, it goes, "No, not really. I'm not chaos, but I don't really hate them." Then you're destruction. And then after that, it's yes.
So you're saying Sylvaneth should be destruction?
No, because Sylvaneth hate chaos.
That's true.
And they're alive.
Listen, they need to stop being so anti-chaos.
If anything, Sylvaneth should be death.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I'm gonna start throwing freaking soda, the little things that you put your soda cans in, the little plastic holes.
What?
For holding a 6-pack.
Oh
You're
yeah.
supposed to, in the 90s, it was like, you have to cut these or the turtles are
Oh,
going to get stuck in
you're gonna
these.
start throwing them in the yeah. You're gonna
Yeah, I'm
start
going to start
throwing them.
throwing them
Yeah.
into the ocean so I
Yeah.
can
Now that you
start
know.
win my battle against
Yeah.
these guys.
Yeah, I like it. It's a good. That should be. That's their weakness is soda can.
Yeah, yeah, the
Yeah.
soda can hold it plastic
Yeah.
hold.
Yeah. Someone should model an army where they're all like caught up in that, like a political statement, like an environmental statement army.
As you play with your plastic army, okay. With your
Uh,
plastic paint.
hey, tomorrow
Uh,
is the Cire hour. We were talking about
Yay.
Maggotkin.
I'm excited.
Can
I'm
I?
nervous. There's a lot of rules that we've kind of been seeing elsewhere, but like we've seen the weird flame ability for Zinch. I want to see, are we going to get disease points just death flavored instead of, or Nurgle flavored instead of Zinch flavored? I'm curious how that's going to turn out.
Disease points, I think, have to change.
Yeah, they're too complicated right now. Or
It's
too much to keep track of.
It's a lot to keep track of, and the end result is, your guy with a 5-up board that you're about to pass takes 1 mortal wound.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's gotta change for sure. It's too much. And what else? I mean, there's a lot in that army that I think we'll
So
see.
cycle of corruption. Speaking of tides,
Cycle of corruption.
they have their own cycle.
I think we'll see disgustingly resilient turn into just a 5-up board all over all the war scrolls.
Yeah.
I think they've learned their lesson on that. Yeah, and
Yeah, I feel like contagion points is going to go away probably.
Oh my god, this army is like this
yeah,
army is like
contagion points, disease points, cycle of corruption, random healing because of disgustingly resilient. It's just
oh my god.
way too many rules.
It's like they're like right out of the gate. They're like, hey, what if I told you there's an army where you can keep track of 3 currencies during the game?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, by the way,
none of them do anything.
None of them do anything, but 2 of them have the same name, CP.
Yes, CP.
So I'm expecting one of the biggest overhauls tomorrow, if I'm honest.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome, we did it. Let's say bye to Cire for now.
Bye.
We'll see him tomorrow. Just a reminder, we are back tomorrow doing our 9 a.m. show about Maggotkin, apparently. So we will see you then. And the other thing we wanted to remind everybody of... Actually, wait, let's bring Cire back for a second. Just to remind people quickly about calling Banners of Chaos.
All right, so
yeah.
Speaking of chaos, we're talking about chaos tomorrow. If you have not heard, we are doing a Chaos Bretonia style army. That is to say, each cavalry model in the army is going to have unique chaos heraldry. So if you want to participate, what you can do is you can leave a little bit of a lore blurb on this video, or even better, join the Discord and go to the Calling the Banners channel. Leave a little lore blurb for your Chaos Warband, and maybe a color scheme, maybe a picture. And if we like it, we'll paint it up and add it to the army, and your warband can be part of the hobby collab horde, so to speak.
Yeah, it's exciting. When we have not photographed Cire's army yet. For example, we played it last night, but we just used the photography for the Chaos Army I've been painting, as Cire's been swapping his models in and mine out. But when we photograph it, you'll get to see your guy there. I'll make sure in the photography I use all of them, and we'll have nice shots of it, so you'll get to see the style there. Fantastic. That's it for us today. Tomorrow we'll be back with this show and a hobby show, which will be at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. Cire and I will be back. Bye again, Cire, for the second time. Cire and I will be back tomorrow, 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. We're going to be painting more mushrooms. Tomorrow's mushrooms are tinier, and then we're going to be saving the big mushrooms, ideally for next week. Hopefully they arrive by then. And that's it. That's it for us. We will see you guys in same time tomorrow. Bye.